Was a time you got rejected by your girlfriend's parents then proved them wrong. My high school sweetheart Julie and I came from two very different worlds. I grew up in poverty in a dilapidated trailer park with alcoholic and abusive parents who worked low-paying jobs at the local carpet mills. They didn't care about my education or future. Julie on the other hand lived a life of wealth and privilege in a sprawling gated mansion and attended the most expensive private academy in the state. Her parents were elite white-collar professionals. Her dad was a successful chemist and inventor who owned multiple patents while her mom was a respected teacher at Julie's private academy. Julie and I met our freshman year and started dating soon after. Against the odds, we just clicked right away despite our vastly different upbringings. For over 2 years, she had started inviting me to all her family's lavish functions and on trips to their vacation homes in Europe. I never dared invite Julie over to my place. I was deeply embarrassed about bringing her to our rundown trailer park to see all the alcoholics and uneducated rednecks in my family. Julie's world was like a fairy tale compared to the squalor I lived in. Getting a glimpse into how the upper class lived was like entering a different universe. But Julie and I were so compatible despite our different backgrounds. We never had a single argument. I always minded my manners around her polite, cultured parents and made an effort to impress them with my modest intellect. Julie's younger brother seemed to enjoy hanging out with me too. We were making big plans to attend the same elite university together after graduation. But just 2 days before Julie and I were going to attend our senior prom together, her father called me unexpectedly and asked if we could meet for lunch. This wasn't unusual since I had met him a few times before. Eagerly, I agreed. He picked me up in his shiny new BMW and took me to a fancy upscale restaurant I could never have afforded on my own. The gourmet food was delicious and conversation was light and pleasant like always. Life seemed great. But after asking me the usual polite questions about my family and how life was going, Julie's father's tone shifted. He proceeded to bluntly tell me that I was no longer allowed to date his daughter anymore. Staring coldly down at me, he told me he didn't believe I could ever provide the kind of comfortable, privileged lifestyle that Julie was accustomed to and deserved. Those crushing words hit me like a punch to the gut. No apologies were given for the sudden condemnation of our relationship. No further explanations were offered for destroying our hopes and dreams. Without even a hint of sympathy, Julie's father declared us done. He curtly shook my hand and tersely wished me luck in making something of myself in life someday, as if I were nothing more than a disappointment to him. Then he left me there, shell-shocked and numb, sitting alone at that upscale restaurant I didn't belong in. I sat in stunned silence for almost an hour trying to process what just happened before I finally had the sense to call my cousin to come pick me up. I was over 18 miles from our trailer park with no car and no money for a cab ride home. Meanwhile, Julie refused to take any of my desperate, tearful phone calls after that. I was devastated. My heart was shattered. I still went to our senior prom just a few days later without Julie, hoping I might be able to talk to her and try to fix things. But I wasn't even allowed inside the prom venue because Julie had our tickets and I didn't have the $30 to buy one for myself at the last minute. In that moment, I had never felt so small and excluded in my life. I didn't even catch a glimpse of Julie that night. We didn't see or speak to each other again until fate reunited us at our 10-year high school reunion in 2006. In the intervening painful years between, I managed to slowly turn my life around, despite having nothing and no one believing in me. I worked multiple minimum wage jobs to put myself through community college, then landed an entry-level job at a tech company. Through sheer determination and grit, I worked my way up, learning everything I could. Eventually I took a big risk and left to start my own company. Against the odds, through many long days and sleepless nights, I grew that startup into a successful multi-million-dollar enterprise. Over the next decade, I repeated that cycle of entrepreneurship several more times, launching new companies and selling them for fortunes. Today I'm proud to say I've made far more money than Julie's parents could have ever imagined for me. I can comfortably and confidently say my net worth today surpasses what both her parents have combined. But unlike them, I didn't spoil my kids or let wealth change me. I waited until my late 30s to finally get married and start a family. My oldest daughter was graduating high school the same year as my 10-year reunion. Although I could have easily afforded any elite private academy, I purposefully sent my daughter to the same ordinary public school Julie and I had attended, wanting her to have the character-building experience of diversity and making her own way that I never got as a child. Attending my daughter's graduation ceremony, I was surprised to see Julie there too. Apparently her teenage son was also graduating from the same public high school. While my daughter graduated 4th in her class with honors, Julie's son ranked somewhere in the average middle of their class from what I could gather. I was honestly shocked to see him attending normal public school instead of having the privileges of private education like Julie did. Over the years through old friends, I had heard that Julie married right after high school graduation but quickly got divorced within a year. She married and divorced twice more by 30 and had 2 kids along the way. Now in her mid-30s, Julie was single again, living with her aging parents and working as a low-level secretary at a local home pesticide company. Quite a contrast from the life of wealth and advantage I was deemed not good enough to provide for her. Seeing Julie again for the first time in a decade was surreal. The old emotions came flooding back. As hurt and angry as I still felt about how she and her family had cast me aside, seeing her abashed expression as we made eye contact in the crowd, I realized I had truly moved on and was over her. I was proud of all I had accomplished coming from nothing. And realizing how life had humbled privileged Julie, I felt only pity for what she had lost. After graduation, I approached her directly in the parking lot while families were filtering out to their cars. Up close, she looked tired, with worry lines prematurely marking her face. But she still had that sparkle in her eyes I remembered. We exchanged stiff pleasantries and summarized the past decade of our lives. Trying to be polite, I asked her what happened such that her son didn't go to the elite private schools she had attended. Looking embarrassed, Julie explained how right after high school her parents had spoiled her with unlimited money and freedom, letting her do whatever she wanted. But she partied too hard, making reckless decisions and dropping out of college. Her stunned parents cut her off financially after her third divorce, and all her poor choices left her deep in long-term debt. She was just starting to get her life back in order now. I expressed sympathy for her struggles, hiding the vindication I felt over how the mighty snobbish family had fallen. Hearing all she had been through did provide me an unexpected sense of closure. I told her I bore no grudge and wished her the best, then politely excused myself. As I walked to my car, I realized I felt only relief and satisfaction at the life I had built through my own hard work. I might have started from the trenches, but look where I am now.